Well, it certainly is very nice to be here in the Portishead congregation. Now, we've never been here before, and yet there are familiar faces in this room. It's nice to see someone who we know, but we don't know many. So if you think we've got favourites, no favourites. Would you like to know who we are? Would you like to know all about us? You're nosy, really, aren't you? Yeah. A nice place to start off would be introductions. My name is William John Robertson Harris. Yes. Another Robertson. But you don't have to worry about all that. Bill. B-I-L-L. If you're using word association as the Society recommended a few years ago, that feeling when you come down in the morning and all those brown envelopes are on the doormat. Same feeling that people get when they see me and their bills, aren't they? So that's the easy part. Bill. Now the difficult part. My beloved. Her name is unpronounceable. It's Jana Antonella Evangelista. I think that's right. Anyway, we've been married 20 years. That's what I've been saying for the last 20 years. Jana is spelled Gianna. But if you're trying to use word association, the only thing I can think of is spanner. If you think about greasy mechanicals when you see my wife, Jana. It's a hard-sounding name, but she's a very nice person deep down inside. So there you go. So you now know who we are. Now, last week we were in the congregation in Bedminster, and they sent their love along because they said that this week you're going to need all the help you can get. Now, I don't know what they mean by that. But, of course, when we send love along, we can't remember the names of all the brothers there because we've only been there once. And it's hectic. But, that's the first visit. But if you don't start somewhere getting to know one, you never actually do ever meet anybody, do you really? You don't get to know one another. We had a terrible experience in Sheffield. That was our last circuit. Been there 3 years. 6 visits to every congregation. The last visit to one congregation, I was out in the ministry calling her Sister Maud. And she turned around and this look of hatred was in her eyes. It was burning me. And she said, "It's not Maud," and she told me her name. I'd got it wrong for all those years. I'd like to avoid that mistake this time, if that's all right with you. Now, you know who we are, but we don't know anybody, as we said. So could you come up and say hello? And when I keep getting your name wrong, say, "Bill, it's not Maud, it's John," or whatever it is. Just keep putting me right, and eventually it'll sink in. Could we make a little covenant, a contract? That's what we're going to do with each other. Is that all right? Because it's awful lonely when you don't know people. It's a bit frightening. Especially when you're in a room and everybody's looking at you and you feel a bit tense and twitchy in there. So we'd like to get to know ones. Of course, the major way we can do that this week is out in our field service and at our meetings. So if we've got our little schedules there, let's get them out. We'll run through the diary for the week. So we're all at roughly the same place, expecting to do nigh on the same thing, nigh on. Well, we've got a few changes we're going to make this week, just to keep everyone on their toes. Now, meeting the field service Wednesday through Friday, 9 a.m. That's very good. Oh, was there murmurings then? Would you like to change it? Would you like to change it by 15 minutes? Who would like to change it by 15 minutes? Yes, Sister Willie, you'd like to change it by 15 minutes? 8:45 it is then. Now, it's always nice to see someone who's zealous, isn't it? So you all want to come down and sort out Sister Willie out. Shall we say 9:15? Is that best, Reverend? Because I know some are going to travel a little bit and it's a bit awkward. On Sunday, you might want to think, prior to the day, of looking for opportunity to invite someone to come along. Because we have to make a statement in the public talk on Sunday. And it's for everyone. Very simple statement, but it's quite encouraging. And it can help people to see that Jehovah God wants us to succeed. That's an interesting thing. That's exactly what he wants. He wants every one of us here in this room to live. He's a marvellous person, isn't he, Jehovah? And this evening, he's instructed us to come along and say, again, one very, very simple thing. But to get our mind into gear so we're receptive to it. We've got a little question. Is there anyone here who has ever heard of the name Tom Champagne? Oh, our sister, your hand went right up. Let's see if our sister's got something to say about Tom Champagne. The microphone, we're all eager to find out who Tom Champagne. It's a funny name. Apparently he's a real man.
I can associate it with Reader's Digest.
You can indeed. Did Tom Champagne offer you money, sister? He offered me £260,000. And when I first read the letter, we don't get people offering you £260,000. I remember the occasion very clearly. I just got out of bed and I was going down after I'd made Jana her full English breakfast. I always take it to her first thing in the morning. And I was just going down and I saw these envelopes hanging through the letterbox. I pulled one out and it was a neon envelope. It was basically glowing, flashing. When I opened it up, it said, "Dear Bill." I thought, that's nice. Because that's my name if you've forgotten it already. And I read this letter, and this man said, £260,000 has been put aside in the bank account for you. What are you going to spend it on? And you know, first thing in the morning, when someone poses a question like that to you, your mind goes riotous. I quickly locked myself in the bathroom, so Jana wouldn't see. And I thought, £260,000. I could do a lot with that. And being a loving husband, I thought to myself, I'm going to buy something for my beloved. Because we were hard-up pioneers at the time, didn't have any money. We had one very old car that kept breaking down. The local youths called it an iron oxide special. And I thought, I'm going to buy my wife a new car. She liked minis. Whenever we saw a red mini on the street, she'd say, "Look at that, isn't that lovely?" So I was going to buy one, park it outside the house, get one of those big ribbon bows and stick it on top. And when she came back and she looked out the curtain and said, "Ooh, whose is that car?" I was going to take the keys, toss them across the room and say, "It's yours, baby." And it all worked out in my mind. All of it was there, clear as day. And I kept thinking about it. And Tom Champagne, he kept sending me these letters saying, "You'll get the money as long as you buy the books." So I got all these books from Reader's Digest, and then in the end I cottoned on. He tells fibs, Tom Champagne. But it's an interesting way he works. He promotes the idea that as long as you believe and you buy things from him, eventually you'll get it. And it's strange, but that's exactly the same way that many churches have been filling their pews for centuries. They've been promoting the idea that as long as you donate and you believe, you will get all the things that God has promised. And lots of other things that they just made up and said the Bible contains anyway. But we know as true Christians, as Bible students, it's not as easy as that. It's not just belief, is it? We need faith. And some might say, well, belief and faith are exactly the same thing. And we'd say, no, they're not. And no doubt we would prove that by opening our Bible to something that Paul wrote in Hebrews chapter 11. Let's do that now, because we want to run over what faith really is, because this is what's necessary. Hebrews chapter 11, and we're just going to look at verse 1. Let's see if we can work out, what did Paul mean? He said there, faith is the assured expectation of things hoped for, the evident demonstration of realities, though not beheld. Did we notice he used two terms to explain what faith is? Let's look at them one at a time and see if we can work this out. Now, the first one, he said, faith is the assured expectation of things hoped for. Now, Bible scholars say that Paul there gave away his legal background because he used a term that in the original language literally means a title deed. Scholars say it means a title deed. Just to illustrate, imagine waking up one morning and going to the letterbox, and amongst all those things from Tom Champagne, you see one envelope that's not neon, glitzy and flashing. It's a very conservative looking envelope, but it's got a quality look about it. You pick it up. It feels quality. You open it up. It's very crisp sound when you take the letter out. You open up a single piece of paper. It's not mass-produced by the million. It's addressed to you in a nice, dignified way. But the first thing you notice about this letter is the letterhead. It's from a legal company, a firm of solicitors, and not any old firm of solicitors. There are all names down one side, and there are two letters after these names that mean this is an important letter. The two letters are QC. After each of the names on the letterhead. And the letters QC mean Queen's Counsellor. You just can't call yourself a Queen's Counsellor. This is someone at the peak of their profession. And they've written you a letter. And as you read it, you notice that this letter, again in a very dignified fashion, it explains that a relative of yours has died in Australia. And he's left you a huge tract of land with all the mineral rights and all the gold rights and everything in it. He's left it to you, and as long as you go to Australia by a certain date to collect it, it's yours. What would you do with the letter? I can't help but think my first impression would be, that is too good to be true. Would we be the same? I think we would. I'd be thinking, who's playing a joke on me? But you know, according to Paul, we've got that letter. We have received communication from God. And he has said, we're not going to inherit a piece of land in Australia. He says, you're going to inherit the earth. Jehovah's purpose will not fail. He wants his servants, loyal ones, living on this planet, a beautiful paradise. He's written us a letter saying so. But there's more. The second part of that verse, he also says, it's the evident demonstration of realities though not beheld. That's a nice little phrase. Evident demonstration of realities though not beheld. Go back to the illustration. A few days after receiving the letter from all those big solicitors, there's a knock on the door. We open it up. There's a man standing there in a postal uniform holding a big box. We have to sign for the box. We take it in. We open it up. And inside there's all sorts of goodies. There's a video. We take the video out, we put it into our video player. All of a sudden, flashing up on the screen, in a very expensive suit, sitting in a very plush office, is a man who speaks in an Australian accent and introduces himself as one of the members of the legal company that recently sent you a letter. And he says, as the Australian representative of this company, he's going to take you on a video tour of all the things that your uncle has left you. And you find yourself, via the video screen, going into a helicopter, going right up in the air, and there's a big hand. It points out, oh, that's your land over there. That's your diamond mine. That's where your gold is mined. That's where they get the opals that are yours. And then all of a sudden the helicopter lands and you come out and there's all these people standing up. They look straight at the camera. They address you by name. And they say, we work for you. Here's some of the diamonds that we've mined. They're yours. Here's some of the gold. Then all of a sudden you're back in the office on the video screen. The gentleman there, he says, go back into the box. You take out the box. And there's a big family tree. And on this family tree, there's the uncle that left the money, and there's you. And in between, there are other names that you recognize. Names that you'd heard perhaps your parents speak about. You'd never actually met these people, but you'd heard them talked about. and you went through this big box full of all that proof, what do you think at the end of it? I've inherited a big tract of land in Australia. What do you think after seeing all that information? Because Paul said there that the Bible is packed with information that when we meditate upon it, we can see what Jehovah God is going to give us. Now just go back to the illustration and think about this. If you received the letter and you received the box with the video, etc., but then you did not make plans to go to Australia and claim your inheritance, what do you think other people would think of you? Keep the question in mind. And let's just turn forward in our Bibles to James chapter 2. And let's find out what the answer is. Chapter 2, remember we said we've received the letter and the box full of goodies, all saying that this big piece of land in Australia is ours. All we've got to do is go there and claim it. But the question is, what would others think of us if we did not then make plans to go and claim our inheritance? And do you think the thought in verse 26 gives us a clue as to the answer to the question? Where it says, indeed, as the body without spirit is dead, so also faith without works is dead. Reason on it. If we don't make plans to go to Australia to claim our inheritance, surely it indicates that we do not have confidence in the letter, that we don't trust the information, that we don't have faith in it. Because that is such a marvellous offer that people would be willing to give up careers just to make sure they had enough money to buy the ticket. They'd do anything to get to Australia and claim that inheritance. But if an uncle left us that piece of land in Australia, it would be nothing in comparison with what Jehovah God has guaranteed he will give to those who have faith and demonstrate it via works. So as Christians, what are we going to be careful of? We don't fall into the trap that Tom Champagne promotes. That as long as you believe it, and you keep donating, that's fine, you'll get it. No. If we really do believe, and we trust, and we've got confidence, and we have faith, we won't need to claim faith. Other people will be able to look at us, and by what we do and the way we do it, they'll be able to say, that person's got faith. I can see they're making plans to go to the new world and claim their inheritance. And it's important that we stress that point, because Satan's ploy does seem to be an easy way out of something that we might find inherently a little difficult. Have a look at what he says in verse 18 of James chapter 2. It says, nevertheless, a certain one will say, you have faith and I have works. Show me your faith apart from the works, and I will show you my faith by my works. Can you actually show anybody faith apart from works? It doesn't mean you essentially go and say there's a jam jar full of faith for you. You know, it's not a solid, it's not a gas, not a liquid, is it? You can't say, take that away, I've got plenty at home. Can't do that. And yet the indication behind that verse that we've just read is that some would claim to have faith apart from works. And that's why the question was posed, show me. Not claim, but show me you've got faith apart from... It's impossible to do it. And we've got to make sure that we've got the works that demonstrate we've got the faith. Because if we do, then we will get the blessings that Jehovah God wants to give to us. Now we might be saying at this moment, well, I've got works. Here I am, here at the meeting. Absolutely right. Being at Christian meetings is most definitely one of the works that shows that we've got faith. Is an indicator of what's going on inside of us. We put other things to one side to make sure that we come along. Excellent. But we have to be careful that we don't fall into another little trap that Satan has promoted. It's the Woolworths pick and mix counter trap. No doubt we've been down to Woolworths at the sweet counter. Have you ever seen the sweet counter at Woolworths where they've got all the different boxes and you take out what you like and you leave what you don't like, and you can always tell the ones who've got false teeth? Because they're avoiding all the toffees, aren't they? And they take all the soft centres. You know, some things as a Christian may seem more palatable to us than others. But we've got to have all the works, every single one of them. And the one the Bible stresses continually is, well, what was it that Paul said? 1 Corinthians 9 verse 16, really, woe is me if I did not declare the good news. It's true, isn't it? You see, sometimes we might think to ourselves, nobody wants to listen. Well, do you know, it could well be we come to a street of houses and nobody in that street does want to listen. But it's still an opportunity for us to demonstrate we've got faith. And we've got to look at situations in that way. And it is going to be hard. But Jehovah God blesses those who exert themselves, as is demonstrated by the example in verse 25 of James 2. Did we notice there? It says, in the same manner, was not also Rahab the harlot declared righteous by works after she had received the messengers hospitably and sent them out by another way? It's fascinating when you just ponder over the example that was chosen. And remember, Jehovah God chose that example. Why? Or put yourself in Rahab's sandals. What would those men of the city have done to her if they'd found out she was covering those spies? It would have been very unpleasant. She risked her life to demonstrate her faith. But the blessings. She not only saved her own life, but her family as well. Do you think at the end of that, she was so happy that when those spies came and said, basically, hide us, she didn't say, well, look, I'll do anything for you, but not risk my life. I couldn't risk my life. I couldn't go that far. She must have been so happy. And what a way Jehovah God blessed her. Descendant of Jesus Christ. No, an ancestor of Jesus Christ. That's right. Yeah, that would have been a blessing, wouldn't it? That would have been. Well, there you go. But you get the idea. I wish I hadn't said that now. But by putting ourselves forward to be involved in the Christian ministry, we are most definitely indicating our faith is alive. Now, we might be gulping, and we might be thinking, well, I don't like the ministry. I'm not so keen on it. And I feel all on my own when I go out and when I knock on people's doors. That feeling, that first door knock, isn't it agony? Isn't the temptation there, really, to just give it a wave offering? Just wave at the door and just make sure you don't stand in front of the bit of glass that indicates to someone. All those things go through the mind. Jehovah God, He has not only given us this as a commission, He's also given us a huge support mechanism to enable us to go out and do it. None of us are perfect. None of us find certain things easy. The ministry, I think, is one of them. But if we use Jehovah's provisions and we demonstrate a willing spirit, then we find that we can be more effective in the field service than we ever thought possible. The provisions? Well, how about our school? Oh, we had a lovely school this evening. Very nice. Lovely school overseer, Brother Dave. Very nice indeed, I've got to say that. But you know, sometimes we say, well, I couldn't get involved in the school. No, I don't like it. I'm too nervous. If you're nervous, that's an extra reason to get involved in the school. Because it's better to get over our nerves here, in an environment where we're surrounded by ones who love us, than to go out and faint on someone's doorstep, isn't it? And you know, sometimes we say, I just can't get my mind together when I'm in the ministry. I dry up. My mind freezes solid. Yeah, you're right. It does. Unless, of course, you put yourself through the school whereby we're trained to form a logical outline in our mind. We had that this evening, did we not? And the school is not a separate entity. We want to emphasize the school is a provision to assist us to go out and demonstrate our faith is a living, vibrant, healthy thing. We've got the service meeting. We've got the arrangement of working with our book study overseas. We've got so many different things. Isn't Jehovah God bending over backwards to help us? to demonstrate faith so he can bless us. And we want to stress to everyone not to allow self-imposed mental barriers to stunt or mute our going out and praising the one person who we know really means so much to us. Faith is something that needs to be worked at. Otherwise it goes downhill, and according to James, it can actually die. Jehovah God knows what's going on inside of us, and he's appealing to us. Don't let your faith die. Work at it. Demonstrate you've got it. Give Jehovah God something to bless. And at the end of the day, even if nobody ever listens to us, and we want to emphasize, actually at this moment, we've seen a huge increase in the number of Bible studies in our country. 8% in 1 year, an increase. That's a tremendous success. But even if no one listens to us personally, it's still worth the effort. Look at what Jehovah God said would take place. James chapter 2, verse 23. We put in the effort and we demonstrate our faith. What a thought. Where it says, and the scripture was fulfilled, which says, Abraham put faith in Jehovah, and it was counted to him as righteousness, and he came to be called Jehovah's friend. If nobody ever listened to us, the end result of just being called Jehovah's friend, surely that's worth all the effort. Can you imagine the feeling that Abraham will have in the new world, where he stands up from his grave and people point at him and say, that's Jehovah's friend. Jehovah inspired that to be written. What a marvellous feeling will well up inside of him. All the effort he had to put in, all the struggle, all the different challenges he overcame, at that moment it will most definitely be worth it. And we here can have that same feeling if we respond positively to Jehovah's invitation to go out and from this week on demonstrate our faith is a living thing by speaking to others about it. So when we come together for meetings for field service, don't forget we're going to be doing something very, very simple this week. And if we bring along those publications that we mentioned, then all of us will be able to show our faith is a vibrant thing. Well, we've got a beautiful song to conclude our meeting with. It's Song 144. And this has been carefully selected. It's the song, We Must Have the Faith. Think about the lyrics as we're going through them together. And let's work as a team this week so that we put this into practice. Song 144, We Must Have the Faith. Then we'll ask for Jehovah's blessing to be with all of us.